Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Portugal. You hear it all the time now, right? Headlines calling it the best place to live in 2025. Our mission here, well, is to get past those headlines. You want to really unpack why Portugal's getting all this buzz, looking at the specific advantages, the details from the sources we've gathered for you, basically give you the full picture if you're maybe thinking about an international move.
Exactly. And the material we've got, it really does paint a picture of Portugal having this sort of unmatched combination of advantages. We'll look at everything from, what daily life feels like to the nuts and bolts of actually moving and staying long term, getting into the real insights.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with something fundamental, really. When you're thinking relocation, safety, it's almost always top of mind. And our sources, they consistently point to Portugal's, well, exceptional peace and security. I mean, we're talking seventh most peaceful country globally, fifth safest in Europe according to the latest Global Peace Index for 2024. And what really struck me wasn't just the rank, but the score itself, that 1.372. It's significantly better than Spain or France, even Germany.
Right. And what those rankings actually mean for you day to day is this pretty profound sense of security. Portugal has one of the lowest violent crime rates in Europe. We're talking less than one homicide per 100,000 people. That's, similar to places like the Netherlands. And here's a stat that really hits home. 83% of residents say they feel safe walking alone at night.
83%.
Yeah. That level of comfort, it's incredibly rare. It points to something deeper, social cohesion.
That's an incredible figure. What do you think really drives that feeling of safety? Is it policing or culture or what are the sources suggesting?
Well, it seems to be multifaceted. The sources suggest it's pretty deeply ingrained in the culture. So, yes, effective policing, but also this strong emphasis on mutual respect, on community bonds that acts as a sort of natural deterrent. And it's not just a blip, evil. The data shows safety has been consistently improving. Overall crime in 2023 was actually lower than it was back in 2013. Most of it involves nonviolent property stuff, so you still need to be mindful, obviously, like anywhere. But serious violent crime is remarkably uncommon.
And it varies a bit by region too, right? Like northern Portugal is apparently even safer.
That's right. The North reports something like half a homicide per 100,000. Even tourist hotspots like the Algarve, their rate is still well below the European average.
Interesting.
And what's fascinating, too, is how this commitment to peace kind of extends internationally. Portugal ranks second globally in militarization metrics. Basically, they spend very little on the military, they avoid conflicts, and that just helps create this really stable environment for people living there.
So for families, or really anyone who puts a premium on that basic peace of mind, Portugal seems to make a very strong case.
Mm.
Sounds like the kind of place where, kids can play outside. You don't have that constant low-level anxiety. Okay, so safety, that's a huge check mark. But then the next big question is always, okay, can I actually afford to live there comfortably? Let's shift to the cost of living, because the sources really highlight Portugal is offering exceptional value.
Precisely. It's amazing value compared to other EU countries. Economically, living costs are running about 13% below the EU average. And what's impressive is the broader picture. GDP grew 1.9% in 2024. That's more than double the EU average. Inflation's just 2.7%. Unemployment around 6.4%. Pretty healthy signs.
That does sound strong. So let's make it real for people listening. What does that affordability look like in, say, euros per month?
Okay, so for a single person, the sources suggest you can live quite comfortably on somewhere between, let's say, 12,285 and 1,773 ruble a month. That's before rent. For a couple, maybe 1,700 to 3,000 euros. Now, put that in context. That's nearly 30% less than you'd likely spend in Germany or France. And often, the quality of life is just as good, if not better.
30% lower. That's significant. Can you give us some everyday examples? Like what does bread cost or a meal out?
Sure. The sources mention things like fresh bread, a 500-gram loaf, around 1.25. That's like 20% less than Paris. A decent meal in a restaurant, maybe 11. Monthly public transport in Lisbon or Porto, about 40.
Okay.
Utilities for an apartment, maybe 100 to 150. Internet, fast internet, 30 euros. Mobile plans, 20 euros. It all adds up.
Yeah, those small savings really compound. What about the biggest expense? Housing.
Right, housing is definitely the biggest chunk. But even there, outside the absolute prime spots in Lisbon, it's still pretty reasonable. A one-bedroom in a city center averages around 935 a month. Go to the suburbs, it drops to maybe 738. Now, Lisbon itself, yeah, that can push towards 1,600 a year, but look at cities like Braga or Coimbra or Faro. Fantastic value. Rents there can be 40, even 50% lower than Lisbon.
So if you're really trying to make your budget stretch but still want that Portuguese lifestyle, maybe look beyond the capital. These secondary cities sound like the sweet spot. What kind of lifestyle differences might someone expect, say, Braga versus Lisbon?
That's a good point. Lisbon is definitely the bustling international tech hub, very energetic. Cities like Braga, they offer maybe more traditional Portuguese experience, a bit of a slower pace, perhaps stronger local community feel, richer cultural immersion. And those cost savings are real because you're slightly off that main expat and tourist track. Your money just goes further.
Makes sense. And the job market seems pretty solid, too, especially for English speakers.
Yeah, it's quite robust, particularly in tech, tourism, healthcare, customer service. Overall employment's over 72%. And yeah, there's growing demand for English speakers, especially in those sectors, with salaries often hitting over 2,000 euros a month, which goes a long way with the lower cost of living.
And the economy itself feels stable.
It seems so. It's supported by diverse income streams, tourism, tech exports, renewables, manufacturing. That diversification helps. Plus, the government's aiming to raise the minimum wage to €1,000 by 2028, which signals, a focus on improving living standards.
Okay, let's pivot to another really critical piece for anyone moving.
Yeah.
Healthcare. The sources paint a picture of a system that's, well, very efficient and effective. Portugal's National Health Service, the SNS, seems to deliver impressive results while spending just 2,814 per person. That's way below the EU average of over $3,500. And look at the outcomes. Life expectancy hit 82.8 years in 2024, better than the EU average. And they rank 23rd globally for healthcare innovation.
The infrastructure is definitely there. Over 1,500 public hospitals and health centers, 120,000 professionals. And where Portugal really shines, according to the sources, is primary care access. They rank third globally for doctor availability and patient-centered care. And the key thing for residents, including expats who register with Social Security, is that it provides universal coverage.
It's genuinely remarkable, isn't it? Achieving those kinds of outcomes like infant mortality dropping 94% over 45 years, life expectancy up 17 years since 1960 while spending relatively less per capita. It really makes you think.
It does. And Portugal has the third lowest infant mortality rate in Europe now. Now, there are out-of-pocket costs, about 30% of total spending, but private health insurance is widely available and quite affordable, usually 50 to 100 euros a month for pretty good coverage.
That's very reasonable.
Yeah. And emergency services are efficient, often with English-speaking staff in the main hospitals, private clinics. You can often get same-day appointments. Plus, things like dental and eye care, which can be pricey elsewhere, are remarkably affordable in Portugal, and the quality is high.
And the fact that medical tourism is a thing there. People choosing Portugal for complex procedures, saving 50–70% compared to Northern Europe. That says a lot about the quality, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a real vote of confidence in the system's capabilities.
And what enables so much of this great lifestyle, including maybe recovering from those medical procedures, is, of course, the climate. Let's talk about Europe's sunshine champion.
It's definitely a huge draw. Lisbon gets nearly 2,800 hours of sunshine a year. That's like almost double London's total, way more than Paris. Head down to the Algarve, and you're looking at over 3,000 hours. That's right up there with the sunniest places in Europe.
3,000 hours, that sheer amount of sun must just transform daily life year-round. How does it feel on the ground?
Well, it means average temperatures are just pleasant. Winter lows around 8 to 15 degrees Celsius, summer highs typically 20 to 28. You rarely need serious heating or full-on air conditioning because the Atlantic Ocean really moderates things. It keeps it from getting scorching hot like inland Spain or bitterly cold like further north. It's just comfortable most of the time.
And there's variety too, right? It's not all the same climate across the country.
No, not at all, despite being quite compact. Up north, near Porto, it's cooler, greener, gets more rain, but still lovely summers around 25 degrees. Central Portugal, Lisbon area, that's your classic balanced Mediterranean climate. Mild winters, lots of sun. Then the south, the Algarve, that's Europe's sunniest spot. Even in winter, it rarely drops below 12 degrees. And the interior, like Alentejo, is more continental. Hotter summers, cooler winters. So you have options depending on your preference.
And all that good weather obviously leads to an outdoor lifestyle.
Oh, completely. People are at the beach from April through November. Golf is year-round. Eating outside, al fresco dining, you can often do that even in January in the south. And beyond just fun, all that sunlight boosts vitamin D, improves mental health. There's a tangible impact on well-being. It's a powerful, if intangible, benefit.
Okay, so it sounds great. But the big question for many listeners might be, okay, how do I actually get there? Let's talk immigration. Portugal seems to have really shifted gears, actively trying to attract international talent. The numbers are pretty staggering. The foreign population went from 400,000 to over 1.5 million just between 2017 and 2024. That's nearly 15% of the population now.
It's clearly a strategic direction. Look at the digital nomad visa, the D8. Launched late 2022, already issued over 2,600 visas, and the requirements seem quite accessible. About 3,480 monthly income, 4 times the minimum wage, and around 10,440 workies in savings.
Who's playing mainly?
Americans are number one, then Brazilians, then Brits, and they're mostly settling in Lisbon, Porto, and Madeira.
And the D8 isn't the only road, is it? What other visas are popular?
No, there are several others. The D7, the passive income visa, is great for retirees or anyone with stable remote income, requires just 760 hours a month. There's the D2 entrepreneur visa if you want to start a business, the D1 work visa if you have a job offer. And worth noting, the golden visa changed. No more real estate focus. Now it's about productive investments starting from €250,000 that actually create jobs.
And they seem to be building support infrastructure, too, this new AMA agency.
Yes, AMA, the new immigration agency. They have 34 service centers offering language courses, job help, cultural orientation, trying to smooth the process. Though we should be balanced, the sources do mention a significant backlog exists, affecting around 400,000 applications. So patience is still needed.
Right. Bureaucracy can be slow. Now, beyond just getting in, what about fitting in? Social integration. Portugal's progressive policies really stand out, pioneering drug decriminalization way back in 2001, legalizing same-sex marriage in 2010. That must create a welcoming vibe.
It really seems to. If you look at social cohesion metrics, they're strong. Like 87% of residents say they know someone they can rely on.
Yeah.
And the UN Human Development Index ranks Portugal 42nd globally. That's very high human development. They score particularly well on social inclusion and equality.
And practically speaking, the English proficiency helps a lot, right? Ranked 6th globally.
Huge help, especially since most Portuguese under 40 speak conversational English. It really eases those first few months or years.
It makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And beyond the policies and language, there's this genuine warmth and hospitality people mention again and again in the sources. Religious freedom is strong. Finding vegetarian or vegan food is easy. LGBTQ plus residents report feeling very welcome. It feels genuinely inclusive.
Okay, for families considering the move, education is obviously huge. How does Portugal stack up there?
It looks pretty good. You've got a mix of accessible public education and a strong international school sector. There are 62 international schools across 9 cities. They offer all sorts of curricula: British, American, IB, French, German.
And the cost, compared to elsewhere.
Significantly lower. Annual fees range from about €4,500 up to 21,000 €. That's often much less than similar schools in, say, London or Paris.
And the public schools.
They provide free education, including things like textbooks and meals in many cases. Portuguese students actually report some of the lowest dissatisfaction rates in the OECD countries. The main challenge for expats initially, of course, is the language barrier in public schools.
Makes sense. What about university?
It's growing in popularity for internationals. Almost 500,000 students total, 17% are international. Public university tuition is capped at just $1,066 per year, and more programs are offered in English, leading to EU-recognized degrees. It's a very affordable way to get a European education.
Okay, switching gears slightly, but related to modern living, especially for remote workers. The digital infrastructure. Portugal seems to have become a real hotspot.
Definitely. High-speed fiber internet is widespread in urban areas. You can get 1 Gbps connections for like 30, 40 euro a month. Mobile coverage is good nationwide, and 5G is rolling out fast in cities.
And places to work from. Co-working spaces.
Oh yeah, the ecosystem is thriving. Over 200 co-working spaces across the country. Memberships are typically 100 to 250 euro a month. They offer professional setups, networking, sometimes cool perks like surf storage or yoga.
The sources mentioned a few key nomad hubs. Lisbon, obviously.
Right. Lisbon's the big tech hub, 50-plus co-working spaces, huge expat community, over 100,000. Porto's got a great creative vibe, and it's maybe 30% cheaper than Lisbon. Madeira actually has a dedicated digital nomad village in Ponta do Sol.
A whole village. Wow.
Yeah. And then the Algarve offers that beach lifestyle combined with good infrastructure and expat networks. Lots of choice.
Okay, so bringing it all together, let's talk taxes. Always important.
Yeah.
As sources mentioned significant advantages, but also some recent changes. There's this new IFISI regime that replaced the old NHR program in 2024. Can you break that down? What does it mean for, say, a tech worker moving there?
Right, the IFSI tax incentive for scientific research and innovation. It's targeted. If you're a qualified professional, think researchers, tech roles, innovators, it offers a flat 20% tax on your Portuguese income. And crucially, an exemption on most foreign source income. That lasts for 10 years. So very attractive for specific skill sets.
Okay, 20% flat tax and foreign income exemption for qualified people. What about general tax benefits beyond that specific regime?
Well, a big one is there's no wealth tax, unlike Spain or France, for example. That's significant for some people. Portugal also has tax treaties with 79 countries, which helps avoid paying tax twice on the same income. Capital gains on long-term investments get favorable treatment. Corporate tax rates are competitive.
Anything else stand out?
Yeah, crypto taxation is pretty reasonable, especially if you hold for less than a year. And property taxes are remarkably low, generally 0.3% to 0.8% annually. It's quite a favorable environment overall.
It certainly sounds appealing from a tax perspective, but, no place is perfect. To give the full picture, what are the main challenges or downsides the sources mention?
That's important, yeah. This raises the question of the trade-offs. The main challenge popping up now is housing affordability, especially in Lisbon and Porto. Prices have been rising faster than local incomes. That's creating pressure.
Right, the flip side of popularity.
Exactly. Another thing is bureaucracy. Processes can be slow. You definitely need patience dealing with paperwork sometimes. Wages, while sufficient for the cost of living, are generally lower than in Northern Europe. That's a factor for some. And a smaller point, but practical. Many businesses close for vacation in August. Things can slow down quite a bit then.
Good to know. Well, that really covers a lot of ground. This deep dive, I think it really lays out the compelling case Portugal is making. That unique blend of advantages we've pulled from the sources is quite clear.
Absolutely. To just quickly recap, you've got that top-tier global peace ranking, the incredible sunshine over 2,800 hours annually, the efficient and accessible healthcare, the affordable cost of living, and these progressive policies that seem to genuinely welcome people from around the world. It really does deliver on many fronts. It feels like a country actively trying to build a desirable future for its residents, both new and old.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given how Portugal is actively strategizing to attract and integrate global talent, how might its model this combination of lifestyle, affordability, and welcoming policies? How might that influence other countries, especially those also competing for skilled residents and economic growth in our, increasingly globalized world? Definitely something to consider.